In contemporary China, an increasing number of middle-aged individuals are falling into debt traps. According to data released by the official website of the Chinese courts in March 2023, the number of individuals with bad credit has exceeded 8 million. Sparking widespread concern, what does this number hide behind? In this program, we will focus on the stories of four middle-aged unemployed individuals. One who failed in entrepreneurship, two who were laid off, and another who worked in a factory. They reflect the typical situations of many middle-aged Chinese people. Let's listen to their voices and understand how they ended up in debt traps.
I may not be able to live anymore. I am 33-year-old debtor. Because I've been in debt for 3 years since the debt broke out, I am facing countless debt collection calls every day. And those untrue and false prosecution, text messages. There's nothing I can do about it, because people are right. Why can't I pay back the money? My wife didn't smile because of the debt for several years. How many times have I gone up to the roof? I want to do the stupidest thing, but I can't imagine losing my elderly parents. How do they live? I can't imagine my wife living alone with 2 kids. I can't imagine whether 2 children can grow up healthy. Too much I can't imagine. So I figured it out. No matter how hard it is, I must persevere in the past. Go on, you will eventually turn over if you don't die.
It's almost Chinese New Year, but I want to die now. 3 years ago, because of the impulse I asked my family to lend me money to buy this apartment. I really can't bear it now. I will be 35 years old after the Chinese New Year. But because of the mortgage, my life is a mess. There are constant quarrels at home because of the money, the family quarrels and fights every day. I don't think anybody my age has it worse than me. I am from the countryside. I didn't graduate from junior high school, so I went to work in the city, worked as a waiter. Also worked as a security guard later. The fellow villagers introduced me to work in a factory, then I met my current wife. In 2019, when I was 30, my family urged me to get married. In the countryside, people of my age already have children. So my wife and I decided to go back to the countryside to get married. Neither of our families is rich. My wife didn't ask for a dowry. I simply arranged the tile houses in the countryside. Invite relatives and friends to dinner. Now I'm also very grateful that my wife didn't ask for a dowry or buy an apartment. After getting married, the two of us went back to work in the factory, had been renting an apartment. But the decision to buy an apartment threw my life into despair. When I went home for Chinese New Year at the end of 2020, because rural relatives like to compare, they were making fun of me at the dinner table. Why aren't you married yet? Why haven't you bought an apartment yet? Your uncle's brother bought it all. I know they don't really care about me. But laugh at my lack of ability. I felt so embarrassed at the time. My self-esteem took a hit. My wife and I discussed buying an apartment. Because I just got married, I have a little gift money in my hand. Plus the money I saved from working part-time for the past 2 years. Borrowed some more from relatives. Enough for 300,000 yuan down payment on the apartment. I have a loan 1.50 million yuan, but a 160 square meter apartment, pay back 7,500 yuan every month. At that time, the apartment price was also the highest. At the beginning, the income of the two of us can also support the mortgage and living. But due to the COVID epidemic period, the factory was not profitable. My wife and I lost our jobs in June in 2023. The only savings I had have been spent. To tell the truth, in the first 2 months, the mortgage was paid via credit card. I am unemployed. I couldn't sleep all night. I've been arguing with my wife recently because of money. When I first bought this apartment, My family also advised me not to buy such a big one. Just buy a normal apartment with 70 or 80 square meters. At that time, I saw my friends around me bought 100 square meters apartments. I also bought the apartment for the sake of face, and it's uncomfortable to live in a small apartment. I also want the elderly at home to come over. In the future, have a place to live. Now I really want to slap myself in the face. I've been looking for a job everywhere in the last month. But for someone like me, who only has a junior high school degree, looking for a job with a monthly salary of 5,000 yuan. But no one uses me. It's almost Chinese New Year. Some factories stop recruiting workers. I'm really confused. Now my wife always scolds me for being unpromising. Said she was blind before she fell in love with me. I went to the agent last week and asked about selling this apartment. The agent said he could sell 1.20 million. I'm losing almost 800,000 yuan. I really regret. The mortgage for next month has not yet been settled. If I really can't pay it, I'll terminate the mortgage payments and give it to the bank. But I saw various consequences of terminating a mortgage online. I will be put on blacklist of credit reporting. I'm very confused right now. I don't know what to do. So, help me out here, please.
Do you know how many people are struggling on the edge of survival? Some can't even get 20,000 yuans out. My colleague was laid off the other day. Her husband also quitted his job to find a new one. But they have never found a satisfactory job, so both of them are laid off. Husband a month 30,000 yuans, wife 10,000 yuans a month. But now she is unemployed and panic. Can't even get 20,000 yuans out of it. All earned money is spent every month. Because of the pursuit of a high quality of life, it starts at 3,000 yuans for shopping one day. Make a face care at 6,000 yuans. Never worry about money. Spend money lavishly. Regret now. Regret not saving some money earlier. Now she has to borrow money from everywhere. Yeah, it's been a rough year. You don't feel panic when having money.
I have decided to go back to my hometown. I really can't bear it anymore. Time to say goodbye. We don't want the apartment we bought in 2017 anymore. We need to take the kids and leave this city. Go back to our hometown and live in the countryside. I want to leave this city where I have lived for more than 10 years. In the past few days, we have been packing up and taking the kids around. I don't care about the credit reporting. When will it end if this continues? Our apartment has a loan of 450,000 yuans, and the monthly repayment is 3,800 yuans. We opened a store a year ago. We earned more than 10,000 yuans a month, after deducting the mortgage. The rest is our family's living expenses. After the Spring Festival of 2023, business is harder to do. Income is even more unstable. It's really not enough. We have 2 children and 4 old people to support. I want to sell the apartment. It's a pity that there are no buyers.
Middle-aged Chinese people are currently facing multiple pressures, including mortgage pressure, increased spending on children's education, rising medical expenses, excessive consumption, and unstable employment. These factors have led them into debt, according to the Financial Statistics Report released by the People's Bank of China. China's household debt-to-income ratio reached 124.4% in 2022, nearly double that of 2013. Among them, the cumulative growth of mortgage loans has reached 595%. Mortgages account for at least 75% of personal total income, while other per capita living expenses generally range from 20% to 25%. Meaning that most Chinese people are unable to save money and still need to cope with expenses, such as children's education and medical costs. According to reports from Chinese media, there are currently over 780 million people nationwide in debt, with 400 million facing difficulties in repaying credit card debts, totaling over 200 billion in overdue payments. The total national debt is close to 30 trillion yuan. with an average debt per capita exceeding 200,000 yuan. And 560 million people still have no savings. In recent years, the unpredictable epidemic has forced over 20 million businesses to close, leaving many people unable to continue repaying car and housing loans. The number of properties reclaimed by banks alone has exceeded 2 million sets. These figures seem to indicate that Chinese people have entered an era of indebtedness. According to the latest data released by the China Execution Information Open Network, the number of individuals on the credit blacklist has reached 8.59 million, with most of them aged between 18 and 59, accounting for 1% of China's labor force. This number has increased by nearly 50% compared to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. This figure does not yet include the population of overdue loans, which would be several times higher if included. Specifically, in terms of data changes, on March 17, 2020, there were around 5.74 million people on the blacklist. On March 11, 2021, there were 6.39 million people, and on February 27, 2022, there were 7.19 million people. Over these 3 years, there has been an increase of 2.29 million people, representing a growth of 39.8%.